So for those of you that didn't know, a few weeks ago I went to an event called Salon Prive all the way down in Oxfordshire, and it was a lot of fun. They had some incredible classic cars on there. There was a whole concourse judging event where the best classic car got its spotlight and got its award. But on top of that as well, there were a few exhibits around the actual event itself that focused on, well, not just the past but also the future as well. Now I've already uploaded a few interviews from me going to speak to these people, but the one that I've not got around to doing yet has been when I went to Eagle GB. Now Eagle GB, they're not a restoration people for the most part. They're basically a company that have a lot of classic racing cars, and I mean proper racing cars. Like, they had some incredible ones. They had my favourite car growing up, the Subaru Impreza rally car that none other than the late great Colin McRae raced around back in the 1990s and the noughties as well. And I got to speak to a few people there. I got to speak to Dan Lawson, who was really really informative, but also Henry Pearman, who I did a proper interview with. He basically just ran me through how iconic some of these liveries are. Now, they had things like motorcycles there as well, and yeah, I would have liked to have spoken to him for even longer, but unfortunately my phone's battery was literally about to die while I was doing this interview, so I'm lucky to get what I got. And he basically just walked me through some of the liveries and some of how, you know, some of the amazing cars that were there from Le Mans, some actual winning Le Mans cars from the likes of Porsche and Toyota as well. So yeah, I'm going to play the interview now. Again, this is outside like a lot of the interviews where there's cars going around, there's people going around, so the audio quality is not quite top notch, but I hope it's alright for you guys. And yeah, just basically an explanation of how iconic liveries can be and how important it is in the legacy of these racing cars, because these racing cars had some extremely iconic liveries. So yeah, audio only interview, guys, and yeah, strap in, we'll take you through how impressive these were. So yeah, we're in front of the Jaguar Le Mans car. Which one is it?
Yeah, this is a silk cut Jaguar XJR 8/9.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So I've heard some interesting stories before about from Kel when he was telling us about actually going out onto the Le Mans track, full pelt down the Mulsanne Straight. This would sound like a very big adventure for him. But in terms of information that you can give, like just what's the rundown of how this car got to be where it is here, really?
Yeah, I mean, the class, this is a class to celebrate liveries. So, you know, liveries for us, if, you know, endurance racing in the 1980s, Group C was probably the golden era of Group C racing in the 20th century, I would say. So, so you've got the Rothmans Porsche originally, then Jaguar came on board originally in 85 with two British Racing green cars, entered as Jaguar cars, and then 86 they had the silk cut livery, and took on the Porsches, because the Porsches won everything. They were completely dominant. Yeah. And Tom Walkinshaw said it'll take me 3 years to win Le Mans, and 3 years later he did.
Well, they all count at the end of the day. And
they do.
And what are the other two down there then?
Well, what we've got here, this all represents 87 and 88. So basically the green XJR 6s came out mid-85, did a full season in 86, got a first win, and then they developed the car, took the engine out from 6.2, originally the V12 was 5.3, the race ones were 6.2, went to 6.5, then with the XJR 8, this was the big game step, if you like, and this went to 7 litre, and this dominated the championship, and it won 8 of the 10 races. Wow. And so by the middle of the year, Porsche built 2 new lightweight 962 Works cars. They built 3 Rothmans 962s in 85, 1 new car in 86, and the final 2 cars were 87. So that's one of the 87 cars there, and that got 4 consecutive pole positions, including Le Mans, and 4 podium finishes. And Jaguar, basically, by the time they went to Le Mans, Porsche won Le Mans and then pulled out the World Championship suddenly and didn't run the rest of the year. So what they decided to do was have one last go at winning Le Mans in 88 as a full factory team, and they built a special one-off lightweight Le Mans special, which is the Shell Dunlop Cup. Yes. And that's in the German colour flag. So what we've got here, these are the 287 cars, the Silk Cut car and the Rothmans car. But this car in 88 was at Le Mans, and it ran as the number 3 Le Mans car, and it's the in-car camera car. So all the video you see is from this car. So where Kel was saying about going down the Mulsanne Straight and the experience, if you watch the video of the time, that is this car doing that, driving down the Mulsanne at 240 miles an hour. Wow. Which is quite interesting. So very much so. And then the Rothmans car, over the winter of 87, that was upgraded to match the same as the new car, because that was radically different, the new car for 88. Yeah. So that was then painted in Shell Dunlop, and that one was raced as the number 19 Andretti's car. car. So Mario Andretti and his son Michael. So the three of them drove with the Andretti family. So that came 6th overall. But the Shell Dunlop number 17 was the special car they beat to beat Jaguar. When it went to Le Mans, it was 7 seconds faster to get the pole position than the year before.
Jesus.
And absolutely was dominating.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, one of the drivers, it ran out of fuel halfway around the track, and it had to limp back to the pits. By the time it got there, it lost 2 laps. So a lap at Le Mans is 8.5 miles.
Yes.
So they literally got back into the lead by about 6 a.m. in the morning, and then they had a fuel filter block. So the Jaguar, so they got back into the lead, so it was cat and mouse with the Jaguar the whole way through. It turned out the Jaguar had broken its gearbox and was jammed in 5th gear, so if they pushed on, they would have won Le Mans. And they didn't realise, so it was just one of those fate decides. So that was famous. So you've got the Porsches and the Jaguars, but funny enough, out qualifying 2 or 3 of the Jaguars on the 5th row of the grid was the Toyota you see on the end.
Yes.
And Toyota are the only manufacturer that stayed at Le Mans all the way since Group C.
Yeah.
So that's so they literally stayed true to the faith. So that's got a little 2.1 4-cylinder engine, the same as a Toyota Celica, except that one produces 700 horsepower.
700.
Yes. So that's amazing. And
Packs a big punch.
Exactly. And so that's really light. So it's got this Jaguar engine is massive. So if you see inside,
I can see it's like almost half the car.
well, literally, it's right by your head here. So I raced this car at Le Mans in 22. I did the support race with the Classic. Raced the 962s as well. So, and with this car, you can feel the weight right by your shoulders. If you change direction and you're on the brakes, it will swap ends on you. Whereas with a Porsche, it's got the low engine, the flat 6, and it's much more sort of friendly, if you like, really. It's more like sitting in your favourite armchair, like a full synchro gearbox, like a road car. So although they look intimidating from here, they're actually really easy to drive.
Take your word for it.
Yeah, no, they are. Everyone that drives one, I didn't expect that. So my first year in historic racing in Group C was with the turbo Silk Cut Jaguars with Wim Percy, who was a factory driver in period, and he jumped in my 962 one time and said, "Oh, well, that was nice to pot around in that." And I said, "Well, Win, you're actually on the front row of the grid." So he didn't realise how quick it was. So they're an easier car to get up to 8 or 9 tenths. These obviously are more of a Formula car. These were designed by Tony Southgate to theoretically be a 2-seater Formula 1 car. So full carbon tub, and everything on it is designed alongside Formula 1 technology, whereas that's old school endurance racing.
Yeah.
Still Porsche's first ever monocoque chassis, first ever ground effect.
Really?
Yeah, and they won 1, 2, 3 at Le Mans first time they went there with it. So an amazing car, but interesting. The livery on the Toyota's Takacube. So there was one of the Porsche 956s, the Yost car, did a double win in 84 and 85, and was actually leading in 86, and it was in the Newman yellow and black, and in 86 in the Takacube. So it's that same livery. So that's really what we're representing here today. Is we've got the Silk Cut Jaguar, Rothmans Porsche, the one-off Shell Dunlop in the colours of the German flag, which they were the first 3 on the grid. So in 88 Le Mans, you've got these new secret weapons from Porsche and a gang of 5 Jaguars all behind them, because they took 5 cars that year from Jaguar on a serious attempt.
Different times. Wow.
And Toyota just had 2 cars, one in a sort of plain white with Minolta, and then the Takacube one, which for me, it's all about the liveries. Group C, it's the drivers, it's the liveries. Stefan Johansson drove one of those, the Formula 1 driver, Ferrari driver. Tiffany Dell drove it at Le Mans, as you can see there. And it was successful in 89 in America as well. And it was really tricky in IMSA by then. You got special Nissans, you got the turbo Jaguars racing, and that got a couple of podiums and a pole position. So it's a car that no one really knows, but it's actually a really sort of dynamic, really good race car. In a modern series of racing, it would be really competitive, because they're more twisty tracks these days, and it's not all about doing 6-hour races or 1,000 kilometres like it used to be.
Well, that's fascinating. Thank you so much for running me through these. I never would have guessed a lot of this information about it. Thanks so much.
Hope you guys enjoyed that interview from Salon Prive, and for much more content on the world of motoring and motorsport, do keep it tuned right here to themotoringchronicle.com. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell as well to see much more video content just like this.